Yes, hello, believe it or not, I am still alive. I promise there are other videos I'm working on, but, working a full-time job is very tiring. I'm very tired. So until the others are ready to ship, I'm just here with another rapid review. So as a Philly D once said,
so let's just jump into it.
Okay, let's be real here and admit something. The MCU has not been hitting the same for quite a while. It's not quite as terrible as some make it out to be, but it is no secret that the magic has been lost a little bit ever since Endgame came out. I've probably enjoyed myself a little more than most people, but I can still admit only a few of Marvel's recent outings have been truly noteworthy. So here we are. It's 2023 and Marvel's reputation has been slowly declining. Not to mention the most recent film before this is Ant-Man Quantumania, which... ugh. So the weight of this franchise's reputation is basically resting on the shoulders of a tree, a raccoon, and a guy from Missouri. So, question is, how is the movie? Pretty fucking good, if you ask me. There's a bunch of really sick action scenes, all the Guardians feel like total badasses without being too overpowered, the villain is a hateable piece of shit monster, Star-Lord says the fuck word, and it's pretty dark. There's a couple parts that may or may not have made me cry, but really I mean it. This movie is packed with so much substance that if you go see it and leave dissatisfied, I think you might need to contact a therapist. Disney straight up owes James Gunn quite a bit for making one of the most consistently fantastic series of films in their arsenal, and he clearly put everything he had into making this a perfect send-off for him as a Marvel director. It's got powerful character moments, super engaging action, and of course, yet another spectacular soundtrack, both the score and the licensed music. The villain is this evil, arrogant dickbag that you just love to hate. With Puss in Boots 2 and this movie, the age of the hateable, straight-up evil bad guy might be back, and I couldn't be happier. I love that shit. But what I especially loved about this movie is that almost every single character gets at least one solid moment to really shine, and the writing for the Guardians is the best it's ever been. If you've seen the trailers at all, you can probably tell that Rocket's story takes center stage in this one, and I think it adds a lot of depth and understanding to his character that we only got a glance at in Volume 2. I'm not going to spoil anything until much later, but the movie's plot is almost entirely based around him, and I think it turned out to be a really great decision in the end. Then Groot has a whole new look and personality, which I'm a pretty big fan of. This Groot was straight up raised by the Guardians and hung out with some Avengers a couple times. It definitely makes sense he'd be a pretty dang different Groot from the Groot of Guardians 1. This Groot is clever, he's kind, and he's very dangerous and creative. While Nebula doesn't have a ton of in-your-face development in this movie, there is a lot of subtle signs telling you just how much she's changed since the first movie. Nebula's always been kind of a badass, but now she's a straight-up hero. Not to say she wasn't a hero in Endgame, but in this movie she really does act more heroic than any of these guys did in the first movie. It's just a really nice place for her character to be after everything that's happened to her since Guardians 1, and I really like how she seems to truly value the people around her now. Drax and Mantis, while definitely funny, have always felt much more one-dimensional than the rest of the crew, but they both got some really great lines and moments to flesh out their characters in this movie. I especially feel like Mantis has changed a lot since her first appearance at Volume 2. It feels really nice to see them have much more going on than just being joke machines and let them have a couple powerful moments to top off the trilogy. And then we have Peter and Gamora. Now, the first two Guardians movies have mostly let Peter lead the show, especially the second one, and because of that, he does take a bit less of the focus in this one, but he still had some really nice development and gets really introspective in certain parts of the movie, especially through his interactions with Gamora, so I guess I'll talk about her now. Gamora dying in Infinity War wasn't a choice that James Gunn made, and because of that, he didn't really get to finish exploring whatever he had in mind for the character. That being said, I think they probably did the best with what they had. They didn't just completely reset her to Guardians 1 Gamora, but they also didn't make her like Infinity War Gamora either. Instead, she's somewhere in the middle. She has some of her bad traits that she lost through the other two movies, but she also has all of her good ones, and she does progress really nicely by the end of the film. I don't know, there's a chance it could have been done better, but I was satisfied. Now, in terms of complaints, I do have a couple, and then we'll get to the spoiler section. Adam Warlock's presence in the movie feels a little bit unnecessary at times. I haven't read many comics with him in them, so I didn't have huge expectations or anything, but every now and then I'd kind of forget he was in the movie until he showed up again. He wasn't bad or anything, but it almost felt like the end credit scene from Guardians 2 put them in a bit... Just kind of felt like the end credit scene from Guardians 2 put them in a bit of a corner, and they, like, had to put him in. Some of the jokey scenes went on a little long, and there were a few, like, really jarring editing moments. Like, once or twice in the movie, a scene would just end really abruptly, or in a way that didn't feel very natural. Like, it would just cut, and you'd be like, oh, okay, that was kind of weird. Other than that, I thoroughly enjoyed myself, and I gotta give a very strong recommendation to go see this movie. Should I say the score before or after I do the spoilers section? I'll do it after. Just skip to the end if you're curious about my score. So I need you to be honest with me. You all cried at least once, right? Or like at least teared up a little bit? I mean, come on, there's a lot of emotion packed into this movie, okay? Star-Lord starts the movie still mourning over Gamora and being a complete goddamn mess. Rocket spends most of the movie strapped to a ventilator, and we get to see his backstory, which is like pretty disturbing for an MCU movie. I don't agree with the distraught parents saying that this movie is pushing the bounds of PG-13 or anything, but for the MCU, this movie does keep it like pretty dark for most of its runtime. Just seeing the villain's no-skin having ass face is enough to make it pretty graphic for a Marvel movie too. But back to the Rocket stuff. I really like the pace they decided to use for the flashbacks, with one popping up every now and then and slowly giving you more of a story that you can probably see coming, but it still stings regardless. It's just so sad to watch little Rocket's spirit get crushed when the High Evolutionary goes mask off and starts screaming at him. He had these dreams of being set free with his friends on Counter-Earth, and then it's all just shattered in front of him. And for it all to come to a point with Rocket's only friends getting killed right before he could save them, everything about the way he's acted in the movies before this one just makes sense after all of this. Shit, I'd probably be a dick too if I was forced into a higher consciousness only to experience pure torture and hatred from the very man who created me in the first place. If you can hear this guy with a fucking motorcycle behind me, I'm gonna kill someone. That being said, it's not like this is some dreary nightmare. It's just sprinkled with some appropriate melancholy and tragedy. But it's also dumb fun. Like the one fight scene in the hallway that's probably the most impressive fight scene in the entire MCU. The living factory or whatever, that set piece is full of really gross designs and effects. I kind of feel like it's what Quantumania was going for almost, but you know, it was done like way better in this one. I really love all the way they use Groot's powers in this movie. My boy grows wings, he grows like 12 arms, he's just a little head at one point, and they even gave this lad a kaiju mode. I did this for the Puss in Boots video, so I'll do it here as well. My favorite parts in this movie, in no particular order, would probably go like this. When Sean Gunn finally tells Cosmo she's a good dog, Rocket getting to stunt on the man that both created and destroyed his life, Peter acknowledging that Gamora is a completely different person now and that's okay. I can't remember who said it, and it's kind of important who said it, but when Mantis or Nebula say that Drax was always supposed to be a dad, the way Peter freaks the fuck out over Rocket dying, because I just love a bromance. The opening, I love the opening. The entire ending, including the post-credit scenes, every character ends up in a place that is so perfect for them. The moment when Rocket is dying and talks to his dead animal friends in Harry Potter heaven. The moment when Rocket is dying and talks to his dead animal friends, and basically the rest of the entire movie. I have some more to say, but I'll just start rambling if I don't stop myself here, so I think I'm gonna end it. If you've seen the movie, did you like it? I certainly hope so, because this had me fiending for some more actually good MCU projects. And once again, sorry for the lack of videos so far this year. It's been tough to make them happen, but I'll be trying a little harder from now on, I promise. And as far as my rating goes, I'm stuck between an 8 and a 9 right now, so I'm just going to call it an 8.5 out of 10. Thank you. Bye.